Hello everyone, my name is Pranaya and welcome to my YouTube channel. I know this has been long overdue, so for everyone who has been texting me about this, has been waiting, saying, "Kadhi upload karna hai this video," which directly translates to when is the video coming, when are the vlogs coming out. Here I am. I know it has been really late, but I always believe better late than never. Uh, a little about me before we jump into today's video. I recently graduated from King's College London in 2022. I graduated in Arts and Culture Management and I work as an event coordinator at a financial publishing house in London. So, for the past 2 years, I've been living in London and I have loved my journey here, starting from scratch, meeting people, finding opportunities, living my life as a student, and now as a working professional. So, this channel is going to be an amalgamation of everything that I have done, all the hurdles I have met with, all of the tough days I've had, and just me speaking about the creative industries in the UK, opportunities for students and working professionals in general, my experience living as a student, and yeah, just everything that comes in between. So I did my undergraduate degree in Pune at Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce. I am an English honors student. And from there, it's just been a jump where I came into the arts and cultural management field. I've had, great experiences. I've had the opportunity to work with festivals, and it's been a crazy ride. So everything that you see regarding arts and culture is literally what I'm passionate about the most. Before I plug into the rest of finding out more about me, I just have to say I am from Mumbai, but Pune represent all the way. I love Pune. So everyone who's here from Pune, welcome. And yeah, let's just get into the video. So I'm gonna try and answer 5 to 6 questions in this video. We're gonna try and make it as detailed as possible so that it helps whoever's been wondering about these things. If you know somebody who's hoping to come into the UK soon, if you know somebody who is in the UK and is looking for help about these things, send them this video and hopefully it helps them. First question that was asked to me was a really great question actually. It was, have you seen any cultural shocks? तुला काही cultural shocks झाल्यात का when you first came into the UK? And I think one of my biggest cultural shocks here was that people really don't care, not in a bad way, but I mean, it can have its pros and cons, but nobody is judgy here. You could be making a vlog in the middle of the street, you could be doing whatever you want, and people genuinely don't have the time to care, to be judgy towards you. And that was a big shocker because obviously, being somebody who comes from a place where I had to think twice before I wore something outside, I had to think twice before having, a varied social circle. This was a good surprise for me, where I could be more of who I was and I could explore that bit a little more. So that definitely has been an interesting little cultural shock. Another was how much people care and know about India. I feel like I think with London, the fact that it's a global city, uh, often or very seldom, this could apply to me because I'd never flown international. I'd never been overseas before coming into the UK. So to me, I always thought, this is just like this foreign land where people don't know much about the Indian culture and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people know, a lot of people are accepting. Moreover, quite some people are genuinely like interested in what you bring to the table. They're interested in your food. Actually, people here love Indian food, so that was a bit of a surprise as well. Because I remember I used to work as a bartender at a bar, and one of my managers who's now a very close friend of mine. Started naming all these Indian dishes that he loves to eat, and that was really a bit shocking because to me it's always about, oh wow, how did these people know so much about us? One of the things that I am going to give into, which was a cultural shock to me, is the food. The food here, I think, is really bland. It's just usually pepper and salt, which is, I think, as Indians, we're not very used to that, and that can be a little underwhelming. And yeah, not to be judgy, but I think those are like smaller cultural shocks that I can think of right now. Another very important and very burning question that I received was, how did you make that decision about, choosing to stay in the UK after your degree? Is it financially affordable? Are there jobs available? How did you decide to go for a graduate route visa, and how was the whole process of trying to find a job? First things first, given the economy, given the fact that you are an immigrant, essentially coming here to, get a degree and then stay back and find a job, I am not going to sugarcoat it. It is not going to be easy. You are going to have to work hard to get your first opportunity. The journey to your first job is going to not be easy. To me, given the creative industries, I always knew, म्हणजे deep down मला नेहमी माहिती होतं की I can't go back to India right now, because the opportunities and the pay in India wouldn't match up how much I had spent on a degree in the UK. And another thing was because my degree isn't available in India. It's not taught for a master's course. So the choice was a simple one: to come here, study, learn from here, and that is what I went for. Of course, I finding a job here was very difficult. I made the choice, and a lot of students, it can be a very difficult space to be in. Karan, every day you're applying to jobs and you're just getting rejections constantly until you find that perfect spot. You have to figure out, your CV, you have to figure out your cover letter. It's a different cover letter, changes in the CV for every time you apply. And all of that in general can be so exhausting. It leads a lot of students to, just sort of shrink themselves, shrink their personalities. It is scary, it's overwhelming. And how I sort of dealt with that was, I always knew, I think, throughout my degree, and I never had like doubts about whether I want to go back home immediately after the degree, whether I want to apply for a graduate route visa or not. I think with that, I had a very one track mind where I knew I am in London and I don't want to leave London, and I'm going to apply for a visa, and I'm going to sort of try and make it work. So for the 6 months after I applied for a visa, I was working full time at a restaurant, uh, 40 hours per week, somewhere around that. And while I was working at the restaurant, I was finding a job in my field, which was closer to events. Not an easy ride. You need to obviously ride out that wave. But I think everyone who has, been through this has opted for the route of finding a job while having a job in hospitality. And I think a lot of people here, while in India, hospitality in general as a part time is not it is not the norm. A lot of students, a lot of people don't do that. It's not the norm, right? But in the UK, it's very natural, or it's very easy for you to get a job in hospitality. It's something where, and I think a lot of people respect you if you have worked in that industry at some point, can because it can be really challenging. It can be mentally, physically exhausting, but it builds character. Like I always say this during interviews, nothing builds character than working in hospitality, and nothing builds like wholesome friendships and just loyalty towards each other, because these are people that you're working with for like 40 hours per week almost, sometimes at a stretch for 12 hours, where these are the people that you're constantly surrounded with. You're having conversations with them about different things, their dreams, their interests. They're there for you through your tough times, as well as they're there to celebrate you when things work out for you. A lot of my friends from that industry, from that restaurant that I worked at, are still in touch, and we try to spend time together, and it's just lovely to be able to build that. And I think it sort of makes you patient. It gives you an idea of the kind of people that you might have to cater to, and that's definitely a plus point. Working in hospitality, you get so many transferable skills for anywhere that you want to work later on. So that's what I did. That was my approach. I didn't want to give up, because I think the place that I come from mentally, I think it's easier to open doors once you are on this side of the map instead of trying to go back home and applying for jobs and then coming back in. It's easy access because while I was at the restaurant, I met people. While I was applying for jobs, I would get in touch with people on LinkedIn and be like, if you could just give me 15 or 20 minutes of your time, I'd be very happy to buy you a coffee for that, and try to speak to them about where I'm leading to in terms of my career and everything else. So it's definitely, there are pros and cons to this. Everyone needs to weigh that out. But if you do think that you can do a full-time job in a different industry till you find a job in your career field, yeah, it definitely will make a huge difference. I would also say only go for it if you think you can sustain yourself financially here. uh then it makes more sense to go for something like that. The next question is one of my favorite questions. How do you manage living in the UK? So this is such a, I feel like it's such a layered question, but to be very honest, um, it took me a while to find the balance because as a student, Manji life completely, it was packed. Uh, Sorry that I switched between Marathi and English. I just want to be able to cater to all audiences. But yeah, my life was completely packed. I was doing a certificate course, I was doing a degree, and I was working. And I felt like I didn't leave room for a social life. So the only social time that I had was when the student accommodation that I used to live with, I used to hang out with those people. And a very close friend of mine was studying at a university away from my city, and I would go visit them very often. So that was the only social life that I had, which is something I would not recommend. Please, as a student as well, if you want to enjoy yourself, if you want to enjoy the life, go out. There's so many free things to do. Don't be like me. Don't be a miser. I was an extreme miser as a student until I started earning through my part time, and then I was like, okay, ooh, let's go out now. So yeah, make friends, talk to more people. I think a better part of my student life was me attempting to make a lot of friends, talking to a lot of people, and constantly talking about where I came from, my cultural roots, trying to get to know their cultural roots, their stories and everything else that they had to bring to the table. And that sort of created a good balance for me. But I absolutely hated living in London. I remember I went home at the end of my course in September. Um, I was supposed to only go for a month and then, come back, apply for a graduate route visa and look for jobs. I remember going home and looking at my mom and being like, आई मला परत नाही जायचं आहे. किती lonely, किती isolating country आहे. Which directly translates to I don't want to go back. That country is so lonely and so isolating, which is fair because I feel like everyone's just chasing this big goal, this big dream, right? Like London's the city of dreams for a lot of people. And I think that drastically changed once I started working in hospitality for like a full time job. And once I got a job in my own career, in my own sort of, field, I sort of settled into the idea. I feel like before that I was constantly chasing something. And now that I've like fairly settled into the idea and have a social life, I try to step out more. I love living by myself now. So I think it takes time to be able to find that balance. But once you do, it's a good ride. It's definitely something I would recommend to a lot of people. Move away from home, it will build you, it'll make you so I feel like I've become hyper independent now, which is not advisable, I would say. But it's definitely something that I would recommend to every student, male or female. It builds you guys, it really builds you in like different ways. You learn to do basic stuff like you learn to manage your finances, you learn to manage your daily chores, just learn to find that balance as an adult. And I feel like so many of us post covid have just grown so comfortable in that shell. I think leaving becomes so difficult altogether. So yeah, I would definitely push everyone to try and live this experience. How do I manage living in the UK? Definitely live with people that you like. That's such an important thing. I have not had the best experiences when it came to flatmates, but thankfully, touch wood. The people that I live with right now, I love coming home to them every day in the evening. The better the bond with the people that you live with, because at the end of the day, this is home. This is what you have. It's supposed to be home away from home. So the people that you live with really help you sort of get through the tougher parts of living away from home. So yeah, the girls I live with are lovely, and I think that sort of translates into how I feel about myself, how I feel about living in the UK now. Secondly, I think is try and find people from your community. I know it can be so tempting when when you've moved away from home. You constantly think, ki, "Nahi, now I don't want to hang out with people from my community. I don't want to hang out with Indians. I want to meet like people from other countries." And that's going to happen. Like you're going to meet people from like different places, and that is fine. But I think you need to ground yourself. You need to meet people from your own communities. You need to hold these people close, because everything's great, right? But when Diwali rolls in, or when Ganesh Utsav rolls in, you're going to crave the feeling of having that community, having home, and that can only be bought by your own people. So definitely don't avoid. And yeah, among other things, I think, again, like I said, it's such a layered question, but this would be like the first bit, and I hope I answered something at least. Two more questions, because this video is going to be so long already. Oh my god. So one of the questions that I received, which was very fair to ask, is how do you manage living in the UK during winters? Because oh my god, guys, I think a lot of us take for granted the fact that it's not always sunny, or that winter, especially when the days are shorter, it can get really, really upsetting. And seasonal depression is so real. So make sure you're all stacked up on vitamin D. Make sure that you're covered in layers, and you're like ready for when it's windy and you're stepping outside. Um, yeah, just sort of, again, stick to your community. Try to have at least a few social hours once a week, so that you're not completely, I mean, it's getting dark outside anyway, so it can't get darker in here as well. So try to stick to people. And there's so much fun stuff to do in London, speaking for London at least, during the winters. Go watch the lights, go see the Ever After Garden. There's just so much stuff. Just don't stay inside the house. It can get really, really dark and depressing. So yeah. So the last question before we end this video, because it has been exhaustingly long. I did not think I'd be able to speak for so long, but turns out I have been able to speak for longer. I think it was one of my favorite questions. How do you manage living away from home and your people? You don't. It never gets easier. Every year you tell yourself की पुढच्या वर्षी इझी होईल, पुढच्या वर्षी जास्त मिस नाही करणार, इकडची सवय लागेल. But all of that is not true. Every year the feeling of missing home is going to be intense. It's going to be slightly heartbreaking, and you're going to miss home. That is how it is supposed to be. You have to miss home. It's the natural way of being. But I think the idea of being able to build a home around you, being able to build that small ecosystem for yourself, where you've got a way to make home for yourself. I think for me, my comfort place is definitely, every time that I miss home intensely, I just wear my mom's clothes. I have borrowed a few. I just wear her clothes. I make varan bhat. I add the perfect amount of toop to it, and it doesn't translate to I is varan bhat, but it gets me somewhere. It makes me feel at peace. It makes me feel connected to home. And yeah, it's just small things like celebrating festivals, doing your bit. Like for example, I think this year during Ganpati, this was my first ever year, by the way, that I was away during Ganpati. And I found this beautiful community called Maharashtra Mandal London, and yeah, I attended Ganesh Utsav with them. And the first day I sort of made Naivedya for the first time. I made modaks for the first time. And I think, yeah, it's just the idea of being able to build home around you through people, through communities, and yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. So that brings us to the end of these burning questions that I had. I'm going to put up another Ask Me Anything, and I have some questions from the last time as well that I will hopefully make a different video and answer. Definitely, we're definitely going to do that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I can start posting vlogs and start just, doing fun pranaya things on this channel. Stick around, and yeah, that's all I have to say. So speak to you guys soon with more questions and more fun.